Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to our session 6 today. It is agriculture sector in Africa. We'll discuss about the general status, the current trends, and the issues and development prospects for African region. Our speakers are joining us soon, but right now we have Juice Van Odek with us right now with the platform, the technical advisors for African Fertilizer and Agribusiness Partnership. And he would talk about the agriculture technology, innovation, digital platforms to support.
Yes, hi, good morning, good afternoon, what should I say? I just want to check with the moderator or whoever is replacing him. Should I start with my presentation now, or should we first start with a round of introduction? What is the planning?
Yes, please. Please introduce yourself and then you can start your presentation.
All right, wonderful. If that's okay for you guys, I will leave the video off to make sure that we do not necessarily break the line, but I will share my screen for a couple of slides I want to share. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and in this very interesting and exciting, but also difficult, challenging time. And not alone these type of gatherings are now clearly in a different way, but also a lot of the businesses need to rethink on how they operate, as we all know. Today I want to just use a bit of your time to share some of the thinking experiences we've gone through at AFAP, and talk a little bit about that, but also conclude with some of the challenges and learnings we went through, and to share that with you and maybe have some discussion on that. So my own background is an economist from the Netherlands originally, and after working for different multinationals, PepsiCo, Unilever, I started to work for myself in the area of what I guess you call these days social entrepreneurship, in Europe, but also in Asia, India, Africa, well, pretty much everywhere. And I'm still entrepreneuring different innovative projects, and next to that, I'm in an advisory role with AFAP because they have done great work in Africa, and as they go through their own transformation over time, we found some great ways of working together on taking AFAP to the next level. So, with that having said, let me start sharing my screen and take you through a couple of slides I wanted to share with you. This will take about 10-15 minutes max, so you don't need to hold your breath. All right, well, we want to talk a little bit about market intelligence, basically, which is all about data and how you deal with data. And in specific context, I want to talk about AFAP because they've been dealing with data, or we, I should say, dealing with data for a number of years now. And as you see at this little infograph, AFAP has been active in Africa now for almost a decade. And in that time, they've helped to create as well as support hubs or wholesalers, if you like, as well as agro-retailers across the continent. Actually, AFAP is an American registered non-profit company, but head office is in South Africa and Kenya, and they have registered offices in multiple countries, most of them indicated here on the map as well. And next to supporting this distribution network, therefore allowing the availability of all sorts of input products to the farmers and getting close to that last mile, they've also supported and created a very successful credit guarantee system, allowing the financials to better stream throughout the supply chain when it comes to inputs. And often this is a major constraint to get proper inventory available at retail level, because manufacturers have to either pre-finance that, but then they go through a couple of interfaces there, or others have to pre-finance that, and that can lead often to all sorts of difficulties when it comes to fulfillment and consolidation. And through AFAP's intervention, we have been able to get multiples of 10, 15 times the available credit guarantee and make it revolving as well. So, but this is not about that. This is about market intelligence. And what we were challenged with as AFAB is that there was an increasing demand for precision strategy, we call that, to improve the commercial input availability and trade at retail level as well as wholesale. And this came from all sorts of different partners we work with.
Just, I would like to interrupt in between.
Yes.
We are still on the first slide. It is not.
Okay. That is strange.
Yeah.
Can you see now with the slide?
The second slide, yes.
Okay. Because I did a screen, now I am at the third.
Great.
Okay. So you didn't see this one yet, the infograph, is that correct?
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. Let me go full screen and please confirm if it's working this time. Is it, does the African map show and the infograph?
Yes, this is the second slide, but not full screen, but it's visible.
Okay, so the full screen doesn't show as such. All right, let me do it like this then, that's fine. And basically, this is already covered. This gives you the footprint of AFAB basically in Africa. So as during that work, and AFAB is a partnership platform in that sense, a partnership organization, there was an increased demand about different ways of collecting information and how that can be converted into relevant insights in order to be able to be basically better servicing their stakeholders, their clients, or their suppliers for that matter. We learned that if you look at that in that way, a sort of simplified manner of structuring this is through by identifying three levels. I'm now at the slide with the intelligence overview. Is that correct? Please confirm. Afshin, you're now seeing the graph, right? I just want to make sure that the slides are now following through. Can you please confirm? Hello? Okay, I'll continue assuming this is working. So we identified three levels. One is what I would call basic market information and data capture. In the old days, we would call that market research or classical M&E, monitoring and evaluation, used for reporting back to donors or partners or stakeholders. From there, you see a development towards business intelligence, which is much more about statistical modeling, visualization of data, and gradually getting into predictive analysis. What can you do with it? What can you anticipate using and leveraging those data? And then you get into some of the fancy stuff I already saw passing by during this conference on what I would call the real agronomic business performance, where you leverage artificial intelligence, machine learning in a way that we haven't seen before, and which I think is really exciting. So, having said that, we started with level 1, and we're still active in level 1, which includes national level market information on suppliers, importers, wholesalers, etc., etc. We do that for numerous organizations, and these are just a couple of them. And we have been doing that for years, which gives you the kind of data visualization like this example, which is an overview of the cost buildup for subsidized fertilizer from all the way from the source to the end user. As an example, which often is not known at all, but once you do know it and you get it analyzed, like in this picture, you can easily zoom in on areas of concern and intervene there. We also have leveraged this for policy reform, but also review and design of that policy reform, and then track that based on specific data in order to be able to then implement it effectively. The big data capture, as we call it, we've done not just on our own, but also with various partners, such as Africom, where we use the underlying data sheets we have through the collection of the data with our partners and the retailers in the country, and then aggregate that into macro views like this example for Africa, or this example for Nigeria, or this example for Ghana, so that can be sliced and diced in different shapes and forms. And we all do that through what we call the big data capture, which is, and I won't go into a real live demo here, but that is kind of the core database through which we collect the data and make sure that it's properly structured and managed. So then the next level is business intelligence, which is more about leveraging data in a way that it can contribute to the business. And I already mentioned inventory, and inventory management is a key point. To have better insights on that and more real time is of tremendous value for everyone, and creates a lot more efficiency and makes it also very much easier in terms of supporting that with services such as financing, inventory, and other aspects which help to grease the supply chain. The challenge always is to do that in a way that it's easily accessible and usable. So the interface is critical. For that purpose, we developed a mobile phone interface. All these retailers have possession of a phone, a smartphone, an Android phone, as a matter of fact. And through that, they can easily register themselves as a company. But more important than that, they can then also work with different products, but also support that with, this respective certification. But then manage the products as they have it on store or as they sell it or receive it. So you then have a proper overview of what you have in stock and how that relates to the various demands you're getting. And then you can either link that up with the head branch to do an additional order, or you can better supply the needs of the market in a simple, intuitive way through this app. And here's a visualization, for example, of products in stock. On one hand, this seems to be very basic, and in a way it is. On the other hand, it's also very absent in many ways, and is still done in a very analog manner. And these type of tools help not only to do that in a simpler and more efficient way, but it also helps to aggregate that quicker. The other aspect to this is that we have started to go full circle, including the last mile, providing farmers the right inputs and the right support to enhance their performance, but do that from their perspective and not from the perspective as a donor or as an extension officer or as a supplier, but from their business as a farmer. And we use different tools to help support that, whether that's soil analysis or specific retail opportunities in terms of getting subsidized or financed inputs and other forms. But the key point is first to understand the behavior of the farmer. So therefore we have an interface which is called iFarming, which is basically used by the farmer. They do that in different languages. It's pretty intuitive and it provides basic services and information about what needs to be done, but it also gathers feedback on how certain things are being done. So there you can generate behavioral analytics of the farmer, and then also support him better. And what you see in the background is the database which generates, the data collected through the usage of the interface of the farmer, and that allows you to do different analytics and to better support effectively the farmer. What is very powerful here is that it creates a lot of data points on each individual farmer to support their business and performance. We do that in different ways. We have all sorts of questions and other forms of interactions to collect the data. And then obviously you have the farmer's profile itself, and you can generate a lot of analytics through that approach, which again is done in this way. This is pretty technical, so I won't go into detail here. Finally, we have business performance, which is more about supply and demand forecasting. And this is where you get, a lot of the things which can be generated from using satellite data, but then applying it in a way through machine learning to use it in an intuitive, low barrier way for practical purposes. This is an example of a crop mapping and a demand estimation in specific catchment areas of agro dealers, so it can be linked to specific distribution points on the ground. So it's not just an analytics saying that there's something in demand, but you can actually tie it then to something which can be followed up. Same goes for the crop performance in season, where through these signals, it can basically indicate the need for intervention or follow-up. The same goes for the diseases, pressure, risk predictions, where, for example, on blight, you can have a good indication where there's a high probability of blight popping up, and again, it allows better and more planful in interventions and support on the ground. Again, this is another way of leveraging machine learnings to identify fields for in-season attention. Actually, in a way that you basically, through coloring, make it very intuitive and simple. But then again, it's very important that you have the support on the ground, because then it needs to be followed through. That's also, of course, where you need the partnership modeling. So, in conclusion, I want to share basically 3 learnings and also questions, really, which we have come across and still juggling with. So it will be interesting maybe to discuss about this. One, a lot of these things are actually almost always done through partnerships. But as you do that, you get challenges on business models. How do you sustain and scale effective services and applications, while at the same time protecting the impact it's supposed to support? And then, somebody needs to pay for those services, and who is that? Initially it can be a donor or some sort of a, soft loan to get you going, but then it should become a healthy business which has to have some sort of business model. But it can lead to certain conflicting questions from time to time. That brings me to the second point that we've seen as well, that that there's sometimes not exactly a level playing field, because some of the initiatives are completely or largely supported by donor money, whereas others are actually supported by private investors' money, which is fine and all great, but it does create a little bit of a funny way of competing with one another. And certainly down the road, it can hurt a proper, let's say, filtering of the right solutions, which can be scaled. So how can donors and development partners best support intelligence innovation? And finally, all these data and all this generated software as well create challenges in the sense of, who owns the data? How do you protect the data? If you customize software which is funded or co-funded with development support, should therefore the owner have ownership rights or full ownership rights or exclusive rights? These are questions which are still popping up regularly, and I'm sure you recognize them. And with that, I would like to wrap up and end the presentation and hand back to the moderator, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Joost. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much. It was very informative. And if somebody has any more points to discuss with Joost, they can always email him and talk to him at the VIP lounge where you may find him. So moving on, if you have any questions for Joost, I would request all the audience to write them in the Q&A section, which is in the right side of the panel. And in the end, when all the presentations would be done, we would be then asking the questions. So the next presentator in our line is Mr. Sumant Khanna, who is the General Manager of Africa in Escorts. He would be talking about the current agriculture status in Africa with steps towards future-proofing sustainable agriculture. So I'm happy to hand over the stage to you, Mr. Sumant, please.
Good afternoon to all fellow panelists. I believe I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Good afternoon to all fellow panelists and ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to you. Sumant Khanna representing Escorts Agri Machinery. Uh, we are a decade-old company, into major engineering sectors, primarily into agriculture machinery, construction, and railways. And today we're going to briefly talk about foolproofing sustainable agriculture in Africa. So I have a short presentation for you all, which I'd like to present right now. Give me a second, please. I hope the presentation is visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. So, as we all know, the world is recovering from COVID now. We have seen harder times, and a lot of sectors struggling. Agriculture had a very good recovery in terms of coming out of COVID, and there's a lot of potential being identified into agriculture alongside other valuable sectors like IT, etc. So, agriculture is on a growth trend at the moment. Different part of the world, different geographies, we see a lot of improvement and interest being built up into food security. So we'll talk about Africa here. Uh, we all talk about uh, the potential of agriculture in Africa. I mean, of course, everybody talks about it. There are a lot of reports and a lot of people speak about it in the world. Just to give you some major pointers here, uh, Africa still holds world's 50% of unused arable land, which can be cultivated. Uh, Conditions 20% of the total land in the world is in Africa. Adequate water resources in different parts of Africa. There's rain-fed agriculture and there's natural water bodies, fertile soils, favorable climates for different kind of crops in different countries, huge human resources. I mean, more than 60% of Africa's population is somehow one way or the other connected to agriculture. And the major point is there has been a global shift, from mining to agriculture, because more or less over a period of time it has been seen that agriculture is more sustainable. Whereas although mining does benefit in the shorter term, but agriculture is more sustainable in the longer term. And as we all say that Africa has a potential to become the food grain basket of the world. But all this, apparently, there are certain challenges as well,
Mr.
which we have to
Khanna,
look at.
I would intervene. Actually, your slides are not moving. Can you please open the slide that you're explaining?
Okay, now is it okay?
No.
Can I share it again? Would like me
Please.
to stop and
Yes, yes.
just a moment. Is it visible now?
Yes, the second slide is here.
Yeah, this is the second slide. So we just spoke about the agriculture and potential in Africa.
Okay.
Uh, I'll not go to the presentation view in order to, I hope it's visible now. The slides
It is
moving?
visible.
Okay, perfect. So as I said, there are certain challenges in Africa which need to be addressed on a very big scale. Majorly food scarcity in many parts of Africa, heavy food import bills for many governments, which is now pinching the pockets because of the forex requirements for imports. So this has become a major problem for many of the governments. Loss of soil fertility. Low yields has historically been a problem with most of the African farms where traditionally the agriculture happened. So this is a major problem in Africa. And of course, lack of modern farm equipment, irrigation, technological know-how, and one of the major factors that leads to a crisis is value-added processes are absent. So there's a lot of food wastage out of what is produced, even on the low yield, a lot of food, this food goes waste. So these are some of the apparent challenges in Africa, which contribute to food scarcity. Now, we see there's a growing food insecurity in Africa, agriculture being predominantly rain-fed and based on small land holdings. So and it makes it very vulnerable to climate changes, rainfall patterns. The farmers are largely dependent on good rainfall, and then in absence of irrigation equipments and irrigation facilities. So they are dependent on this, on the natural resources or natural rainfall. So, which increases the food insecurity in many countries. Now, what we suggest is the way forward to develop mechanization in Africa. Its first and foremost point is to shift the focus from below the soil, which is mining, to above the soil, which I already said it's more sustainable. An entire ecosystem is to be created for increasing buying capacity of farmers. I mean, that includes support from governments, subsidies, and things like that. Agriculture is to be promoted as a business. Now, this is the most important point where the young generation needs to come into agriculture, taking it as a potential business opportunity, not just food producing or a laid back sector. So governments need to promote agriculture as a business, encourage tractorization and mechanization, which is very important, with bringing affordable and appropriate technologies, and alongside training and skill development goes hand in hand, because that is what is required at the moment to enhance the skills of the farmers, to enhance the skill of the people associated with the farming industry, and develop sustainable irrigation and water management. There are ample amount of water in Africa, and it needs to be all channelized. So currently, if you look at some of these stats which are available here, you see the current status of Africa is that it's surviving on imports. I mean, without imports, it'll be difficult to feed the population. So whether it be cereals or different staple crops, there's a huge scarcity. What we feel currently, there's a need for a green revolution in Africa, which of course happened in India in the early 70s, where India turned from a net importer of food to a net exporter of food in just a couple of years. I'll give you an example here. What we feel that if you look at these slides here, there's a graph that you can see. It's particularly for maize crop. This is a chart which shows the progress in India, or the productivity in India from 1969 till now, till 2019. What you'll see is India was producing below 5,000 tons, and the productivity increased to more than 24,000 tons in all these years. So obviously, how we have done it is it's very important, and this is the same time where Escorts as a company started to manufacture tractors, bringing mechanization into India, mechanizing the farmers, training them how to use the equipment. So this is the same time. So it's been a growth story for India as well, and then similarly, Scots have grown with it. Of course, on the right, that you see a small photograph of the Scots Training and Development Center. I mean, this is a center that we established in early 50s, where and then more than 500,000 farmers and engineers have been trained in this facility, where we teach on the modern farming practices, machinery operation, how to optimize and best use of machinery. And also the center photograph that you see, that how tractorization, number of tractors have increased in India. So here you see it has gone from 34 tractors to about 52 tractors in financial year 21. So mechanization is definitely helping out farmers in India, where we have ample amount of food, and definitely it can help Africa as well. Now, just to give you a quick comparison of India and Africa, our population is more or less similar, 1.3 billion people. Ratio is 1:1. In terms of agricultural land available, Africa is 9 times bigger than India. 9 times bigger than India. And if you look at the annual tractor requirement or tractors being sold and utilized by farmers, there's a huge gap because India annually utilizes about 800,000 tractors, whereas whole of Africa, all 54 countries, it's about 40,000 tractors only. So there's a huge need to bring in the mechanization and tractorization into Africa. This is a ratio of 20:1. Okay, despite the land being 1.9 times in Africa, the tractorization, the mechanization is 20:1. So this is the kind of potential that we're talking about when we talk about and well-fed Africa or food-sufficient Africa. So these are some of the very important factors that have been taken into consideration, that mechanization plays a very important role into increasing the yield and securing the food security. Okay. Now, potential crops that can help reduce the world hunger, and particularly in Africa, we have identified 4 major crops: maize, cassava, rice, and potato. I mean, just to give you an example on how it can benefit. Currently, about 24% of farmland is being used in maize farming in Africa. An average yield in Africa is about 2 tons per hectare, whereas same yield in India is about 5.4 tons per hectare. When we go to developed countries where mechanization is 100%, the yield per hectare is about 10.4 tons. So, assuming 3.1 million hectares it's currently used in Africa for farming of maize. If we bring in the mechanization, we can look at in next 5 years 10.5 million tons per annum, and growing by the same rate. Hypothetically speaking, if we look at the 10-year horizon with mechanization, it can be more than 26 tons per annum of maize production in Africa alone. I mean, assuming that 60%, 70% is used within Africa and then balance is exported out of Africa, we are looking at a business size of $1.2 to $1.4 billion in export revenues. So this is a kind of scenario which can be achieved through proper means of bringing certain pillars for support, where we basically categorize it into 4 parts. What does the consumer want? What is the role of the government? What is the infrastructure and services to ensure access to the market? And in terms of selection of inputs as per market demand. So we'll just a little bit elaborate on these slides. What does a customer look for? Better choice and variety of products, competitive and quality products, good after-sale service and spare parts. The role of the government in this is to increase access of farmlands, lease, promote cooperatives within the country, because when a group of farmers come together, I mean, they have ease of financing, they have ease of equipment, they can share a lot of their learnings and technologies. Subsidy and financing for agri inputs is one of the major factors where government can come in and play a very major role. Of course, coming to the infrastructure pillar, it's a total value chain has to be developed. I mean, not just growing. Infrastructure should be there, the supply chain to support the produce and support the farmers sell the produce also. And selection of inputs as per market demand brings in the land preparation. As I said, it's 50% of the arable land, unused arable land, is still in Africa, so that needs to be utilized for agriculture. And as I said, most importantly, promote agriculture as a business to the youth in Africa. So these are the 4 major pillars that can be worked on. Coming to Escorts as a company, we are a complete farming solution. Escorts primarily have 3 brands: FarmTrack, PowerTrack, and our Kubota range. Farm Power is our implements range, and ECS. I'll briefly tell you about these. FarmTrack, PowerTrack, and Kubota. We are a range of tractors starting from 12 horsepower and goes to 120 horsepower. Practically every 5 horsepower, we have a product which we can offer to the farmer for a specific need or application. Farm power is a range of implements, because tractor is a pulling machine only. Alone, a tractor cannot do anything, so it needs a set of implements to work on the field. Farm power as a range provides an entire range of primary, secondary implements, as well as machinery which is required for food processing. One very important and interesting thing that we do is Scots Crop Solutions. I mean, this is an initiative we have started in India and some of the countries in Africa, where we support throughout the entire value chain of a crop production with the farmer. And we practically do it ourselves along with the farmer. I mean, right from the land preparation till the final produce and processing of the final produce. So this is the kind of service. And then at the end of the program, we make agripreneurs, I mean, whomsoever is availing this program becomes a trained professional and an agripreneur who further develops the program within the country and his neighborhood. So this is one of the very interesting thing which we are promoting in Africa at the moment. And empowering farmers, like I said, we have a training center in India going on from the 1950s, and there's a lot of focus and stress that we do on the trainings. We do training programs across Africa, classroom trainings, workshop, on-field trainings, field demonstrations, and of course supporting our products through customer support on wheels, reaching to very interior parts of Africa, African countries. So in a nutshell, I would say that Africa, FarmTrack or Escorts Agri Machinery is being a partner to Africa. We have a program called ASCO Africa, where we are building partnerships. We call ourselves as Africa's agri partner. So 4 major focus areas of this ASCO Africa partnership is: first is capacity building, then we offer the crop solutions, training, and most importantly, skill development. So these are the main areas of our partnership with Africa. Here, like I said, once mechanization comes in, I mean, there are different activities which are being done, for which we provide training and equipment as well, right from landscaping, field preparation, sowing and plantation, agricultural crop protection, harvesting, post-harvesting facilities, and transportation. So this is the entire value chain that we cater with our products, which helps the farmers. And as a company, we have been exporting to about 70 countries across the globe. So we have a lot of geographical experience that comes out of different continents, not just in Africa. We always look at the best practices coming out of Europe, US, Asia, and India and Africa. So we offer a mix of it. We are continuously learning, and we share our experiences with our partners, with the farmers, with the farming community into Africa and various other continents. So this is some of the new product innovations that we do. The first picture that you see is another innovation into tractor industry. It's a completely electric tractor. No engine in this tractor, no fuels uses in tractor. And it's a completely green solution for small farmers. And then on the right, you will see there are new products coming in, where we are also coming up with a rural transport vehicle, smaller tractors and going to the bigger tractors. So there are ample amount of solutions and innovations that we're doing. We're also coming out with autonomous products, but our core remains to the value of money products that we provide to our customers into Africa and other parts of the world. So how tractors and other farm equipments change the face of entire villages. I mean, you bring in one tractor to a village, and then you see the transformation that happens around it. It can be used for agriculture, farming, haulage, implements, logistics, parts sellers, renting, customer hiring. A number of activities can start with one tractor coming to a village. So that is a change that we envision to bring with our products into Africa. As you see, variety of applications being used. These are all pictures from countries in Africa where the products are being actually used. And we promote certain applications. As I said, we continue to share our experiences from other parts of the world, which can help Africa develop and grow at a faster pace towards food security. Happy to share that 4 of our products were awarded as Indian Tractor of the Year awards. PowerTrack for best tractor between 31 and 40 horsepower. Launch of the year was PowerTrack Euro. FarmTrack 60 as the best tractor for agriculture, and the Smart Tractor of the Year award for FarmTrack electric tractor. So in the end, we would like to briefly summarize you on our contribution to the green revolution in Africa. We are present in over 25 countries in Africa with our top quality products. We're doing crop development projects on rice and maize into Tanzania, Ghana, Burkina Faso. And we have set up agri training and skill development centers in Tanzania, Sudan, and South Africa. Of course, there's a long list we have to achieve where we have certain countries where we are actually going to implement these agri training and skill development centers. Somewhere in partnership with the governments and somewhere with our business partners on the ground. But the idea is to train the Africa and make sure that agriculture training becomes an integral part of development of Africa. We do a lot of workshop and demonstrations with proper operation of tractors and implements, teaching the farmers how to take the optimum out of their products. And we have delivered over 10,000 of our tractors, which are helping African farmers to contribute, bringing food in every plate. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That's all from my side. I'm sure I'll be happy to take any questions that you have towards the end. And now I will request the host to kindly play a small video on Escorts, which will give you an insight on our activities in Africa.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Can you please put it on screen? Sorry, it's not visible to everyone.
Stop sharing.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Khanna. It was a great presentation. Again, if somebody has any questions for Mr. Khanna and for Mr. Juice, they can all go and type in the Q&A section there. So now moving on, we have our next presenter, Mr. Fola Jimmy. He is the CEO of Fola Visions Group. He would talk about the investment opportunities in agriculture to mean with reference to West Africa. So let me just play his presentation for all of you.
Good day all. I welcome you to the presentation of the moment. My name is Fola Jimmy Iretolu, Chairman, CEO of Fola Visions Group of Companies Limited. I'm going to be speaking to you on the topic, investment opportunities in agricultural business in West Africa. First, to start with, I want to thank the organizers of this event, in particular the CEO of TAB, Mr. Barry Tahi and his team. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to be here. Having said that, we go to the main issue of the moment, which is the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be talking to you on this area, West African countries, and these countries. And then why do we need to invest in these areas? What are the main objectives? Number one, to identify potential reinvestment opportunities, to guide investors on investment decisions and choices, and to help propel agricultural investment growth trajectories and stimulate private and government partnership arrangements. We are going to be looking broadly at the subject areas, the key areas of investment, and this is West African map showing all that. And we need to ask ourselves, why do we need to invest? Key areas of investment opportunities, basically covering agricultural mechanization, crop production, livestock production, chain stores, agro-allied processing, wood logging and furniture production, as well as product marketing value chain, transport and logistics, export value chain, and smart technologies. Now, why do we need to invest in agriculture in West Africa? One, there is a whole lot of arable farmland, good and favorable climatic conditions, there's huge market, wide variety of crops can be cultivated in these areas without hazards of snow, of wildfire, and things like that. The governments of these countries are also now encouraging agriculture with a lot of incentives, low labor unrest in West Africa, and there's also low labor costs. And by far the most important reason is the huge uncontrolled population of this area, which is expected to hit 410 million by the year 2024, thereabouts. Agri-mechanization is the first area of priority we are looking at this moment, and this is the deployment of tractor. For the period under consideration from 1960 to 2010, the acquisition of tractor, as shown in this chart, among West African countries is very low, basically between 5,000 to 10,000, and that's very low in comparison to the advanced countries of the world. Also in this chart, you can see that even as at 2000, the highest of the countries was Cote d'Ivoire. And some countries, basically Burkina Faso, Niger, Togo, Benin Republic, even Nigeria, we have virtually nothing. It's abysmally poor and very low. The tractor is the most widely used mechanization equipment, And the value of that business in West Africa today is about $1 billion worth. And in Nigeria alone is about $350 million, and is expected to grow within the next 5 years. Africa also has a very low tractor density in terms of agricultural land occupancy. And in Africa as a whole, this business is worth $2.9 billion as of 2018 by Business Wire. The density in Nigeria is also very low compared to what FAO recommends, which is 1.5 horsepower per hectare. And the World Bank also noted that there's barely 7 tractors per 100 kilometers of farmland, which is also not acceptable by the standard. Nigeria has over 50.5 uncultivated farmland, which is expected to generate 60,000 tractors penetration by 27 tractors per 100 kilometers. So this situation is prevalent all over West Africa and is there. Now, the areas we need to concentrate on in terms of investment is first, tractor assemblage services, because they are arriving in West Africa as semi-knockdowns, tractor hiring and leasing services, service maintenance, repairs, spare parts warehousing, telematic tracking services, and training facilities. All of these are not sufficient enough in West Africa. And in all, is as huge. The market is as huge as the tractor business itself. Talking about crop production, we look at cocoa production. And in this slide, you see 5 West African countries, Ivory Coast taking the lead. Ivory Coast, Ghana, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Liberia. In this summary, you see their total production per annum, their GDP, population, and the global output. That's what is summarized in this. When we go to the right side of this slide, we consider the chocolate market globally, and we see that the cocoa processing system is still very raw, and in comparison to chocolate is highly industrialized in its processing, and this chocolate market is expected to grow by 4.7 over the next 5 years. And the market is as huge as $182 billion, which is a rise from 2019. So what do we need to look at here? More investment in the production process, mechanize and industrialize the processing, set up chocolate production facilities on African soil. We need to invest in transport and logistics, as well as shipping and logistics. On this slide, you see government investments and expenditure on agriculture, and it's very, very low. This is Ghana, the almighty Ghana, and this is the almighty Nigeria. And you see this, Guinea, Gambia, all of them very, very low. Liberia is even a little bit much more better. The highest among them is Cape Verde, which is the smallest of all the countries. Take in totality these commodities, because space won't allow us here. All crops, all cash crops can be grown in West Africa, irrespective of the crop. They all grow because we don't have adverse weather conditions. So maize, for example, and rice is worth $5 billion in the domestic market, and fruit concentrate is worth $1 billion. Investment in cassava, $2 billion. And all this generates huge employment opportunities. Wheat, maize, sorghum, and soybeans are in the same category. Despite all this, we still have uncultivated 84 million hectares of agricultural land available, for example, in Nigeria alone. And population, despite that as well, is growing and is expected to be, as I said, 410 at the year 2050. So the presence of other conglomerate organizations like Dangote, BOA, Olam, TGI, and Wema is also fueling production, which is why investors are needed. Surface water up to 279 kilo is also unutilized. Livestock production, we simply look at piggery, poultry, ranching, dairy production, herds and poultry, and fisheries. Summary of this is to the left. On the piggery, West Africa is the largest producer of pork meat in Africa, and a growing number of quick service restaurants incorporating pork meat into their menu create ready market for this business. So in the pork industry, the piggery industry, you need to take a look at the feed production, veterinary medical services, pork meat production, and the pork processing value chain. Poultry is also expected to go up to 600,000 metric tons post-COVID. This is also influenced by favorable government policies, and there's high demand for poultry meat, coupled with huge, large organizations. So what basically investors should be looking at is also feed, hatchery, processing of poultry meat, and logistics. In terms of ranching, it started like this, nomadic pastoral farming. Now we are here, and this actually is where we should be, ranching the cattle and ranching them here and producing milk, as well as in sheep. This business, Nigeria alone imports milk up to $481 million per annum. West Africa generally imports as much as $2 billion milk powder annually, and the Napier grass can be cultivated in huge commercial quantity, and that's a whole lot of money. Ranching generally is an integrated farming business, and it has so many advantages that are outlined here. So it also boosts meat production. But by far the most important thing is that it is in high demand in terms of beef meat and dairy products. So those are basically the areas we need to look at in terms of investments. Take a look at dairy production. This is the supply line, and this is the production line, and it's never able to catch up with the demand. We take a look at import and export. This is the export. We have virtually nothing to export in West Africa, whereas on the contrary, export is on the rise all the time. Fish production, Nigerian data here, is hardly up to 1 million tons over this period of time. This is fish captured in the inland and the open seas. Take a look also at the import and export. Import-export. This is the export. We have nothing to export, and it's also nosediving, whereas this is export growing, even though this is import growing, even though it's nosediving. So that data speaks for itself. You talk of production in terms of in relation to the world. We are nowhere to be found. We are catching up. The world is rising steadily over the period of 1980 to 2010. And that tells you that there's so much investment that is required in terms of fish protein. Therefore, Nigeria imports as much as $90 million of fish to the country. What do we need to invest on in this? Integrated feed, fingerling, hatchery, transport and logistics, processing, packaging, as well as marketing and distribution. We're also looking at stores. This market is worth $178 billion, according to EU's OECD. And it is estimated that 40 to 45% of post-harvest losses is due to lack of proper storage facilities. Investment in this is way beyond local farmers, and management and maintenance is also very poor. Quality control is also an issue. That's why we need foreign investors, basically to look at warm and cold store facilities. Agro-allied. This is an area starting from the farm to processing factories. You have up to 10 billion private sector investment opportunity waiting to be tapped. West Africa also imports as much as 1 billion fruit juice concentrate per annum. And we know that 40 to 60% of manufactured value is added to agri-product despite the low utilization level. It's also established fact that $50 in value is added to agricultural products compared to $200 in the industrialized world. Wood production, we have softwood here, hardwood here, rosewood here, and this market is actually worth $1.5 billion US, and only the Chinese are active in this area. We need more investors in this area, basically in terms of wood logging and the value chain, resulting in furniture of various types and sizes. Product marketing with the ACTA, which is in population about 1.2 billion people, a $2.5 trillion market has been created, and this is open for investment from any part of the world. What are you looking at? We are looking at assembling, grading, storage, processing, packaging, transportation, delivery of agricultural products to end users. And that is a huge net earning waiting to be tapped. Logistics and transport from the farm through road haulage, through the train to shipment is also a huge investment opportunity. The areas we're looking at here include haulage van, maintenance and repairs of these vehicles, spare part dealership and shipment of agricultural products, and warehousing and delivery. In terms of export value chain, these of all the areas including from carrots, the whole rest of them, and the shipment system. Nigeria alone exports cashew worth $402 million US annually, and garlic $32 million US. Cola nuts about $8 billion US, and bitter cola is now selling for $17 per kilo, and at the purchase price of 7 cents. That's a whole lot of difference. Crayfish business is worth $2 billion US. And Nigeria also produces combination of soybean, groundnut, and yam. Not Nigeria alone, West Africa in total. Groundnut is worth $1.9 billion US. In this market, these products are open for investment opportunities and further exploration. When we take agriculture a little bit more or further, we will be looking at smart technologies. These are technologies that give exponential results in terms of production output. And number one of these that we can look at is drone deployment. This is still insufficient in Africa, West Africa. This can be used for security and surveillance activities. It's also used for area mapping and photography, as well as crop wetting and watering. This is watering and wetting here. This is security and surveillance, as well as precision farming and data collection. Yes, we come to irrigation. Irrigation is also smart technology that can be deployed, and you can see that here over large areas that suffers drought, irrigation is the solution. This data shows the share of land in West Africa that is irrigated, and is far, far away from a far cry from what is required. Precision mapping, precision farming, this is the best of it all, and some companies are still working there, but that's not sufficient. So we need to take it a little bit further. That's the end. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your listening time. This is my contact on the board. You can reach me on this information provided here. Follow Jimmy Rachel, my phone number, my email, and the website. Thank you very much, and we are open to investment opportunities.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fuller Jimmy. Now, I have a question for Joost. So basically, the question is, will the public-private partnership be the reason of increase in the level of agriculture development in Africa? Can you give any insights on this? You need to
sure.
unmute
Sure.
yourself.
Yeah, I know that. It's. I think, yeah, it's a bit of a contradiction. I think it's critical. It's absolutely critical. As a matter of fact, I was involved with an initiative from a few years back, sort of building on the presentation just now, called Grow Africa, which represented an enormous amount of investment commitment from the private sector into agribusiness across Africa. But aligning that with donor priorities on their programs and interventions, as well as with governments who have their own agricultural plans, of course, in the NIPE, as they call it, and you might have heard about other Pan-African initiatives in the agricultural space. And the idea was exactly to align those through these type of platforms. If you then get into the nitty-gritty of that and actually do it, you do come across a few challenges. Certainly, as an investor, one of the things is that you, actually a Nigerian entrepreneur once told me, you do not invest for the next election. You invest for the next generation as a business. You know, Olam didn't become big just overnight. They have been active in Nigeria for decades. Dangote, ditto. Flour mills, ditto, and I can go on and on and on. These companies invest for the long haul, like a farmer, actually. Yeah. So, and that type of agenda needs to be consistently followed through, because if you invest in a mill to process rice, and you can't get the paddy, or I saw something similar with a juice plant. And they can't source the mangoes because there is no mango production or proper aggregation or and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, you're 3-4 years down the road, you have an expensive plant of 20 million plus in which you have invested, and you can't properly run it because you can't source the products, which is because the promises which were made in infrastructure, outgrowers programs, support on inputs for fertilizer or irrigation systems, and so on and so forth, were not delivered. So, yes, it's critical because it's interconnected, but it is difficult as well, and certainly for private sector often challenging, because you both have to play your position, because you do this for the long haul. And if not, you end up with what you have, which is trading, buying and selling, which is criticized by government, but it's kind of the result of what I just outlined. I hope that addresses the question. Thank you.
I hope the same. I think the question has been answered well. Again, in continuation, Mr. Khanna, I would also like to put up a similar question with you, that what about the public-private partnerships? Being a private company, what do you think? Is it easy to enter the African market? Is it necessary to have a platform where you can develop relations in African market?
Absolutely. To give you an example, India over the years, we've seen the path that India has taken in the last, let's say, 20, 30 years, from being a net importer of food to a net exporter of food. Today, some of the commodities we are world number 2, or world number 1. So India over this journey has also developed a lot of frugal innovations, which are very important to be taken to Africa. Okay, and extremely important to have partnerships on the ground where the government plays a role or companies come together. It's very important to have small and medium enterprises coming together, and most important is to offer a bouquet of solutions, which is very important. Africa cannot develop into isolation, and or not even a single isolated solution can be offered to Africa. I mean, we have to gather the expertise, regroup ourselves, and then take the solutions to Africa, which is most important. Okay, so otherwise, one problem or one issue in Africa will continue to lead to another, and then you need so many partnerships and so many technological advancements coming into Africa to help you out. That's not a real solution because that's practically very difficult to implement. And secondly, definitely public partnerships are very important because even the government and large private sector enterprises can play a major role in bringing these technologies in the hands of farmers in Africa. So I certainly go with this.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Khanna. That was answered really well. So yes, it is very critical, as mentioned by Jules, that these partnerships are very important to develop a base in Africa. But these partnerships, the promises that are made, should be delivered, and in the process, there would be the overall development for the African region in agriculture. With this, we will come to a remarkable end to the session. And regarding the presentations of our speakers, I would request all of you to upload your presentations in the handouts section. So in case anybody would want to refer to them, they can have a look at it. Plus, Escorts is also our exhibitor in this event. You can directly go and meet the representing people at Escorts at their exhibition booths. So here I declare the end to this session. Now we will move on to our next session. Before that, thank you so much all the speakers for being with us here in the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.